Hello, my friend. I am the Sleepy Scholar. I know why you are here. The world is loud, and you need a quiet place to rest your mind. I am here to help you do just that. Before we fade into the dark, if you find peace in these videos, please like and subscribe to support the channel. And I'm curious, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Let me know in the comments. Now, put your phone aside and find your most comfortable position. Let's count down from 10 together, to leave the day behind. 10. Take a deep breath in. And let it out. 9. Close your eyes. 8. Relax your jaw and your face. 7. Let your shoulders drop. 6. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the bed. 5. You are safe here. 4. Let go of today's thoughts. 3. Deeper and deeper. 2. Your mind is quiet. 1. Completely relax. As I tell you, tonight's sleep story. The noonday sun blazes down on the red soil of the East African Plateau like a red-hot iron plate, its heat seeping through the thin cotton of your shirt to press against your spine. It's not the dry heat of the Sahara you'd read about in textbooks, but a thick, humid warmth that clings to your skin, mixing with the sweat trickling down your temples. You wipe your forehead with the back of your hand, leaving a smudge of red dust, and adjust the recorder hanging around your neck. Its plastic casing is so hot it nearly burns when you touch it. As a graduate student in African Cultural Studies at the University of London, this is your third month of fieldwork, and your shoulders already bear the faint strain of carrying a backpack stuffed with notebooks, a portable printer, and a water bottle that never seems full enough. Your mission, as outlined in your thesis proposal, is to document the vanishing oral history of tattoo traditions among the coastal tribes of southern Tanzania, those intricate symbols etched into skin that once served as badges of identity, records of lineage, and totems of faith, now fading fast beneath the tide of modernization, missionary influence, and the younger generation's shift toward urban life. The open-air market in the small town of Gambit bubbles like a simmering cauldron, a riot of senses that makes your head spin at first. A Berber vendor near the entrance lifts the lid of a copper pot, and the sharp, sweet aroma of cinnamon and cardamom mixes with the acrid tang of charcoal smoke to assault your nostrils, so intense you can almost taste the spiced stew inside. Further down the path, Maasai herdsmen lead a line of cattle draped in crimson blankets past, their bare feet kicking up clouds of red dust. The cattle low and snort, their cowbells clinking in a rhythm that cuts through the din of hawkers' cries. A woman selling hand-woven kanga cloth shouts prices in rapid Swahili. A boy balances a tray of ripe mangoes on his head and sings a playful tune to attract customers. And two men argue loudly over the price of a goat, their voices rising and falling like a song. Indian merchants in bright printed saris sit behind stalls piled high with silver jewelry and colorful beads, haggling with locals in a mix of Swahili and Gujarati, their bangles jangling as they gesture. You clutch your leather-bound notebook tightly, its pages filled with sketches of tattoos you've documented so far, simple geometric patterns from the Zaramo tribe, stylized lion heads from the Chaga, and the delicate floral motifs worn by women of the Pear people. You just finished jotting down notes about an elderly Hausa woman whose cheeks bore distinctive vertical scars, deep and well-healed, marking her as a member of the noble class from the historic Katsina Sultanate, when your gaze is drawn to a stall tucked away in the deepest shadow of a gnarled acacia tree at the street corner. Unlike the other stalls, it has no bright signs or loud calls. It's just a low wooden bench covered with a faded animal hide, and something about its quietness makes it stand out amid the chaos. Beneath the animal hide awning, a few strands of shell necklaces lie scattered haphazardly on the bench, as if the vendor hadn't bothered to arrange them. Crouched in the shade, almost blending into the tree's trunk, is an old man. His back is curved like a bow that's been bent and never straightened, the weight of decades pressing down on him. He wears a tattered robe made of rough animal skin, stained with dirt and time, and his hair is a wild mass of white and gray, matted and unkempt. In his gnarled, bony hand, he grips an ivory cane carved with strange, coiling patterns that twist up its length, patterns you don't recognize, not from any of your textbooks or the tribes you've visited. When you pause a few feet away, he lifts his head slowly, as if even that small movement costs him effort. His face is a map of wrinkles, deep crevices that run from his forehead down to his chin, and his skin is the deep, rich brown of aged leather. His eyes are clouded with a milky film, the sign of cataracts, yet somehow, you feel as if he's seeing straight through you, past your clothes, your notebook, your status as a foreign researcher, to something deeper. Deep within his pupils, a faint glimmer of light remains, like a spring that refuses to dry up even in the harshest drought, a spark of life that hasn't been extinguished by time. You're looking for the patterns that speak, he says, his voice rasping like sandpaper rubbing against rough wood, each word slow and deliberate. His Swahili is accented, older than the version spoken by most young people in the market, with phrases that sound like they've been preserved from a bygone era. You're surprised, you thought you'd blended in, just another foreigner with a notebook, not someone whose purpose was so obvious. Not the ones that decorate. Not the ones that mark clan or status. The ones that carry voices. You freeze, your hand instinctively drifting toward the recorder around your neck, your thumb hovering over the record button. This is exactly the kind of lead you've been hoping for, tales of living tattoos, a concept mentioned in a single 19th century missionary's journal you'd found in the university archives, dismissed by most scholars as myth. Elder, how could you know that? You ask, your voice softer than you intend, the formal Swahili you practiced feeling clunky on your tongue. I'm just here for academic research, to document the tattoo traditions before they're lost. I didn't mean to intrude. You gesture to his stall, trying to be polite. Are these your necklaces? They're very beautiful. It's not I who knows, he cuts you off, waving a hand dismissively at the necklaces as if they're nothing more than pebbles. His emaciated fingers tighten around the cane's handle, his knuckles white with the effort, as he slowly bends down and drags a linen wrap from beneath the stall. The wrap is thick and heavy, its fabric stiff with age and stained with dark patches that might be blood or smoke. The moment he unfolds it, the chaos of the market seems to fade into the background, as if an invisible wall has been raised around you too. The sounds of the cattle, the hawkers, the music, all grow distant, muffled, until all you can hear is the old man's ragged breathing and the faint rustle of the linen. Before you lies a strip of dark brown deerskin, roughly the length of your arm and the width of your palm, its edges charred black and brittle, as if it had been rescued from a fire. Covering its entire surface are dense, interwoven patterns, carved into the leather with precise, deliberate strokes, then filled with a black substance that glints faintly in the shade. It's not ink, not like the modern tattoo ink you're familiar with, but something darker, richer, that seems to absorb the light. Your breath catches in your throat, and you lean forward without thinking, your notebook forgotten in your hand. As a student of African tattooing, you've pored over hundreds of reference images, spent hours in archives looking at old photographs, and interviewed dozens of tribal elders. You know the identity scars of the Hausa, the bold warrior totems of the Maasai, the delicate blessing symbols of the Samburu, the geometric patterns of the Turkana. All of them draw their inspiration from the natural world, animals, plants, the sun, the stars, or from social structures, marking clan, rank, or life events. But the patterns on this deerskin are unlike anything you've ever seen. No totems, no animal forms, no recognizable symbols of clan or status, just lines that twist and turn like tangled vines, loop and spiral like eddies in a river, and intersect in ways that seem both random and intentional. They pulse faintly, as if the deerskin is still alive, and for a split second, you swear you see one of the lines shift, just a fraction of an inch. These are not tattoos, the elder says, pushing the deerskin toward you with a shaky hand. When your fingers brush its surface, you flinch. It's cold, colder than it should be in the midday sun, like touching chilled obsidian or a piece of metal that's been left in a cave. A cold chill crawls up your spine, making the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. They are words. The Gambit Manuscript, we call it. Carved into deer hide by our ancestors, 7 generations back, with knives made from obsidian. The ink is pine soot mixed with the blood of our last great shaman, his life force, bound into the lines. It holds the voices of the dead, the memories of our people. When the time is right, it calls out. And you answer. Voices. You let out a nervous laugh, trying to brush off the chill that settled in your bones, your academic training kicking in. That's a fascinating legend, elder. But anthropologically, there's no way. You're about to explain how memory works, how it's stored in the brain, not in ink and leather, when the elder suddenly grabs your wrist. His calloused palm is rough as sandpaper, his grip surprisingly strong for a man who looks so frail, as if he's holding on to a lifeline. For 200 years, we've sought 17 interpreters, he says, his voice dropping to an urgent whisper, his clouded eyes locked onto yours. Missionaries, who thought it was the work of the devil and tried to burn it. Anthropologists, like you, who saw it as a curiosity, a primitive artifact. Even the wisest shamans in the tribe, who had the blood but not the heart. Some went mad, their minds torn apart by the voices. Others never woke up, their bodies taken over by the memories. You are the last, the one the manuscript has been waiting for. I'm just a graduate student, you insist, trying to yank your hand free, but his grip only tightens. I'm not some interpreter. I have a thesis due next month, I need to finish my fieldwork. He cuts you off by shoving the deerskin into your arms. It looks light, delicate even, but in your hands, it feels as heavy as a boulder, as if it's carrying the weight of the centuries he spoke of. The cold seeps through your shirt, pressing against your chest, and you swear you can feel a faint vibration, like a heartbeat, coming from the leather. I have a thesis due next month, you repeat, weaker this time, because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're remembering the missionary's journal, the line that had made you pause. The tribe speaks of a skin book that calls to those of its blood. To touch it is to hear the dead. The ancestors chose you, he says, his voice firm, unyielding. His eyes suddenly sharpen, the clouded film seeming to clear for a moment, and you see the intensity beneath, fierce, hopeful, desperate. Not me. Not the elders. The manuscript. Look, they're responding to you. He points to the most intricate cluster of patterns in the center of the deerskin, a tangled web of lines that looks like a tiny forest. You follow his finger, and as you do, a beam of midday sun filters through a gap in the acacia's leaves and falls directly on the patterns. To your horror, the black lines actually quiver slightly, as if stirred by a breath, shifting and moving like a nest of hibernating insects waking up. You blink hard, thinking it's a trick of the light, but when you open your eyes again, they're still moving, slowly, subtly, as if the deerskin is breathing. You must reach Gambit village before nightfall, he says, releasing your wrist at last. His hand falls back to his cane, and he seems to shrink into himself again, the fire gone from his eyes. It's 3 hours by road, east of the market. The entrance is marked by 5 wooden posts, each carved with these same symbols. The elders will be waiting. Do not stop. Do not let anyone take the manuscript from you. And do not, under any circumstances, read the patterns aloud before you reach the village. Before you can ask any more questions, who the elders are, what happens if you're late, what reading the patterns even means, he releases your wrist and pushes himself to his feet, using the cane for support. He moves surprisingly quickly for a man so old, weaving through the crowd like a shadow. His small frame disappears as quickly as a drop of water into the ocean, lost among the colorful robes and bobbing heads. You chase after him a few steps, calling out, "Elder." Wait, but he doesn't look back. You stop, breathless, and scan the crowd, but there's no sign of him, no ivory cane, no tattered robe, no clouded eyes. Even his stall is empty now, the shell necklace is gone, as if he'd never been there at all. You stand rooted to the spot, the deerskin growing colder in your arms, as the market's clamor rushes back in, loud and overwhelming after the silence between you and the elder. The sweat from your palms soaks into the deerskin's charred edges, and the patterns seem to darken, as if drinking in the moisture, their blackness deepening until they look like holes in the leather. You shift the deerskin to one arm and pull out your phone, checking the time. It's just past 1 o'clock. If you leave now, you'll reach the village by 4, well before sunset. But part of you wants to run, to find the SUV you'd hired for the day, tell the driver to take you back to Dar es Salaam, and never think about the old man or the talking patterns again. This is beyond your research, beyond your understanding. This is magic, or madness, or something in between, and you're not sure you want to be part of it. But when you glance down at the deerskin, you swear you see one of the spiral patterns creep over the edge of the leather and brush your wrist, like a tentative touch, a reminder that it's there, that it's real. You shiver, and wrap the linen wrap tightly around the deerskin, tucking it into the inner pocket of your backpack, against your chest. It's cold against your skin, but somehow, it feels like a promise too. You find your way back to the market's entrance, where you'd arranged to meet the driver, a young Swahili man named Juma. He's leaning against the SUV, scrolling through his phone, and looks up when he sees you. Ms. Clara. You were gone longer than expected. Find anything good? He nods at your backpack, which is bulging slightly with the deerskin. You hesitate, not sure what to say. I need to go somewhere else, you tell him, keeping your voice low. East of the market. Gambit village. Do you know it? Juma's smile fades, and he glances around nervously, as if afraid someone might overhear. Gambit village. He lowers his voice, too. Ms. Clara, that place is not safe. My father told me stories about it when I was a boy, stories of spirits, of people who go there and never come back. The roads are bad, and after dark, the hyenas are bold. He gestures to the sky, which is still clear, but the sun is beginning to dip toward the horizon. Why would you want to go there? You think about the old man's warning, about not letting anyone take the manuscript. It's for my research, you say, as firmly as you can. I have a meeting with some elders there. We need to leave now, before it gets late. Juma stares at you for a long moment, then sighs, shaking his head. If that's what you want. But I'm not staying after sunset. My wife would kill me. He opens the passenger door for you, and you climb in, the deerskin pressing against your chest. You clutch the deerskin through your backpack, the recorder digging into your collarbone where it's still hanging around your neck. Your original research plan is in tatters. You'd planned to spend the afternoon interviewing a Zaramo tattoo artist in the next town, then drive back to the guest house in Dar es Salaam for the night. But now, you're heading to a village no one seems to want to talk about, carrying a mysterious manuscript that might be alive. You should be terrified, and part of you is. But another part, the part that had made you choose African cultural studies in the first place, the part that loves the mystery and the history, the part that believes there are things in the world science can't explain, is burning with curiosity. The lingering cold on your fingertips, the elder's unwavering gaze, the way the patterns had moved in the sunlight, all of it tells you the same thing: there's no turning back. You pull out your notebook and flip to a blank page, sketching the spiral pattern you'd seen earlier, the one that had brushed your wrist. As you draw, your hand moves automatically, as if you've drawn it 100 times before, and when you finish, you realize the sketch looks exactly like the one in the missionary's journal. The same spiral, the same tiny lines branching off from it. The missionary had called it the breath of the ancestors. The hired SUV jolts over the red dirt road, its tires kicking up clouds of dust that coat the windows. Juma drives carefully, his eyes scanning the road ahead for potholes and rocks. He stopped humming the folk song he'd been singing earlier, and the only sound is the engine's rumble and the wind whistling through the open window. You watch the landscape change as you drive, from the busy market to rolling grasslands dotted with acacia trees, their gnarled branches reaching for the sky like fingers. Herds of zebras and wildebeest graze in the distance, and once, you see a pride of lions lazing under a tree, their golden coats blending into the grass. It's beautiful, breathtakingly so, but you can't relax. Every time the SUV hits a bump, you flinch, afraid the deerskin will fall out of your backpack. Every time Juma glances in the rearview mirror, you wonder if he's thinking about stealing the manuscript, about what the old man had worn. You seem tense, Juma says after a while, breaking the silence. He nods at your hands, which are clenched into fists in your lap. Is it the village? I can turn around, if you want. No shame in being scared of those stories. You shake your head, forcing a smile. I'm fine. Just tired. How much longer until we get there? Juma checks the GPS on his phone, an old model with a cracked screen, and says, about an hour. The road gets worse from here, so we'll go slower. As the sun dips toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, you can't resist pulling the deerskin from your backpack. You unfold it carefully, keeping it low so Juma can't see, and the moment you do, the temperature in the car drops by several degrees, as if someone had opened a window to the Arctic. Even the warm wind blowing through the window feels cold now, and you wrap your arms around yourself. By the fading light of the sunset, you examine the patterns more closely, running your finger gently over the carved lines. Each groove is evenly carved, its edges smooth and precise, not like the work of a knife but like something made by nature, like veins naturally growing in the hide. The black ink is still cold to the touch, but it glows faintly now, reflecting the pink and orange of the sky, as if it's absorbing the light. You recall your advisor, Professor Amara, mentioning legends of living words among some of the lesser-known tribes of East Africa, memories infused into objects by shamans, waiting for the right person, someone with the same bloodline, to awaken them. She'd called it cultural mnemonics, a way for tribes to preserve their history when they had no written language. You dismissed it as romanticism then, a way for scholars to make dry anthropological facts sound more interesting. But now, as your finger traces a looping pattern that seems to wrap around your fingertip, the sensation beneath your fingertips is terrifyingly real. You can almost feel something in the lines, energy, or memory, or life, pulsing just beneath the surface. You flip the deerskin over, expecting to see more patterns, but the back is smooth, the natural brown of the leather, with no carvings at all. It's as if the patterns are only on one side, only meant to be seen by certain eyes. What is that? Juma glances over, his eyes widening when he sees the deerskin in your lap. He pulls the SUV to a stop on the side of the road, his hands tight on the steering wheel. His face has gone pale, and he's staring at the deerskin like it's a snake. Miss Clara, where did you get that? That's not a normal piece of leather. I bought it at the market, you lie, quickly folding the deerskin back up. For my research. It's a traditional tattoo design. Juma shakes his head, his eyes never leaving the deerskin. No. That's not a design. That's the mark of the forgotten. My grandmother was from a village near here, before the drought drove them away. She told me stories about it, patterns that talk, that take over your mind if you're not careful. She said her grandfather saw a man with those patterns once, a stranger who came to their village asking for water. He went mad that night, screaming about fires and voices, and ran into the desert. They never found his body. He crosses himself, a Christian gesture, even though his grandmother had probably been Muslim. Please, Miss Clara. Throw it away. Or at least let me put it in the trunk. I don't want it in the car with us. His fear is contagious, and you feel a cold knot form in your stomach. But you remember the old man's warning, do not let anyone take the manuscript from you. I can't, you say. It's important for my research. I'll keep it folded, I promise. It won't bother you. Juma stares at you for a long moment, then sighs, starting the SUV again. If you say so. But don't say I didn't warn you. He drives faster now, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, and he doesn't speak again for the rest of the trip. You keep the deerskin folded in your lap, but you can still feel it, cold, heavy, pulsing. You try to focus on the landscape, on the way the sunset turns the grasslands red, on the birds flying overhead, but your mind keeps drifting back to the patterns. What do they mean? Why did the old man say you were the chosen one? What's so special about you? You're just Clara Bennett, a graduate student from London with a bad habit of staying up too late and a fear of spiders. You're not a hero, not a shaman, not someone who can interpret ancient manuscripts. Before you can stop yourself, you unfold the deerskin again, just a little, so you can see one small section, the spiral pattern that had brushed your wrist earlier. You lean in, squinting, trying to make sense of the lines, and your finger brushes the spiral symbol. The shock hits you like an electric current, jolting through your body from your finger to your toes. You yank your hand back, every hair on your neck standing on end, and drop the deerskin onto the floor of the car. There's a sound, not from outside, not from the engine, but inside the car, inside your head, a faint, whispery voice, speaking in a language you don't understand. It's soft, like a strand of hair brushing your ear, yet resonant, as if it's coming from the very depths of the earth. Broken, yet rhythmic, each syllable lingering in the air like smoke. Ku, na, ha, are you, the syllables repeat, slow and deliberate, as if the speaker is trying to make sure you hear each one. You've studied Swahili, Maasai, and a little Hausa, but this isn't any of them. It's not Bantu, not Cushitic, not any African language you've ever heard. But strangely, while you can't understand the words, the tone is familiar, as if you're hearing a lullaby you'd forgotten from childhood, or a phrase your mother used to whisper when you were sick. There's a warmth in the sound, a sadness, a plea, that tugs at your heartstrings. You find yourself leaning toward the deerskin, wanting to hear more, wanting to understand, when Juma slams on the brakes, making you jump. What the hell was that? He shouts, his hands white on the steering wheel. He's staring at the deerskin on the floor, his eyes wide with terror. Did you hear that? That sound? Like a woman whispering. You freeze, your heart pounding. He heard it too. It wasn't a hallucination. You heard it, you ask, your voice trembling. You actually heard it? Juma nods, his head bobbing up and down rapidly. Yes. It was right here, in the car. Like someone was sitting between us. Ms. Clara, that's it. I'm not going any further. I'll take you back to Dar es Salaam, no charge, but I'm not driving you to that village. That thing is cursed. He reaches for the ignition, but you grab his arm. Wait, you say. Look ahead. We're here. Juma follows your gaze, and his mouth falls open. Just ahead, at the end of the road, stand 5 tall wooden posts, weathered and gray, each carved from a single tree trunk. They're arranged in a semicircle, and even from a distance, you can see the patterns carved into their surfaces, exactly like the ones on the deerskin. The sun has sunk behind the hills now, and the posts are silhouetted against the crimson sky, looking like giant sentinels. Beyond them, you can see the tops of thatched huts, nestled in a valley between 2 mountains. Gambit Village. Juma swallows hard, looking from the village to the deerskin and back again. Fine, he says, his voice tight. I'll drive you to the posts. But I'm not going past them. And I'm leaving as soon as you get out. If you're not back by sunset tomorrow, I'm not coming to look for you. He puts the SUV in gear and drives slowly toward the posts, the engine sputtering as if it's as afraid as he is. He stops the SUV just in front of the posts, and the engine dies with a sputter. The village is quiet, too quiet, no sounds of children laughing, no dogs barking, no music. Just the wind rustling through the grass and the distant hoot of an owl. You pick up the deerskin from the floor, folding it carefully and tucking it back into your backpack. Thank you, Juma, you say, reaching for your wallet. For driving me here. I'll call you tomorrow morning to come pick me up. He waves away your money. Keep it. Just, be careful. And if you see that old man again, tell him to leave people alone. He doesn't look at you as you climb out of the car, and as soon as your feet hit the ground, he slams the door and starts the engine, peeling away down the road, the tires kicking up dust. You watch him go, until the SUV is a tiny dot on the horizon, then turn to face the village. The 5 posts loom over you, their carved patterns glowing faintly in the twilight, as if they're welcoming you. A path leads from the posts into the village, lined with small, round huts made of mud and thatch. The walls of the huts are painted with red clay, and each one has a small fire burning outside, casting warm orange light onto the path. But there's no one around, no villagers sitting by the fires, no children playing, no one watching you. It's like a ghost town. You take a deep breath, adjusting your backpack, and start walking down the path, your boots crunching on the dry grass. The air smells of wood smoke and something sweet, jasmine, maybe, or a local flower, and the wind carries the faint sound of singing, low and melodic, coming from the center of the village. As you walk, you notice that every hut has a small symbol carved into its doorframe, tiny versions of the patterns on the deerskin. Some are spirals, some are loops, some are tangled lines, but all are identical to the ones on the manuscript. You pass a hut with a fire burning outside, and the flames cast shadows on the wall, making the symbol look like it's moving. You stop for a moment, listening, but there's no sound from inside, no breathing, no movement, nothing. Just the crackle of the fire. You start walking again, faster now, the singing growing louder. It's a chant, repeated over and over, in the same language you'd heard earlier, the language of the manuscript. Ku-na haru, ku-na haru. The words send a chill down your spine, but you keep going. The path leads you to the center of the village, where there's a large, open square surrounded by the biggest huts you've seen so far. In the middle of the square stands a stone platform, and around it, 7 elderly people are sitting on low stools, singing the chant. They're all wearing traditional animal skin robes, and their faces are lined with wrinkles, their hair white. One of them, a woman with a red headscarf wrapped tightly around her head, stands up as you approach. She's taller than the others, with a straight back and a commanding presence, and her cheeks bear 3 horizontal scars, deep and dark, marking her as a house of priestess, someone with spiritual authority. She walks toward you, her bare feet making no sound on the grass, and stops a few feet away, her eyes scanning you from head to toe. When her gaze reaches your backpack, where the deerskin is hidden, her lips curve into a faint smile. "So you've come," she says, her voice low and melodic, like the chanting. "We've been waiting." "You were expecting me," you ask, your voice hoarse. You suddenly feel very tired, the long day of fieldwork and the shock of the manuscript catching up to you. Your legs are wobbly, and you have to lean against a nearby hut to stay upright. The priestess nods, stepping closer. She's wearing a necklace made of animal teeth and beads, and as she moves, it clinks softly. Old Amos sent word 3 days ago, when the manuscript first began to glow. He said the chosen one would come at sunset, carrying the words of our ancestors. We've been preparing ever since. Old Amos, that's the man at the market. The priestess nods. He's our oldest elder, the keeper of the manuscript until it found its interpreter. He's waited 50 years for this day. She gestures to the square. Come. The other elders are eager to meet you. But first, give me the manuscript. It's not safe for you to carry it anymore, not now that it's awake. You hesitate, remembering Amos's warning not to let anyone take the manuscript. But something about the priestess's eyes, calm, wise, trustworthy, makes you reach into your backpack and pull out the deerskin. You hand it to her, and when her fingers touch yours, you feel a jolt of warmth, the opposite of the manuscript's cold. She wraps the deerskin in a piece of red cloth and tucks it under her arm, then places her hand on your shoulder. Her palm is warm, and you feel a wave of calm wash over you, the tiredness fading a little. Don't be afraid, she says. We won't hurt you. We're not here to use you. We're here to help you understand what's happening, to you, to the manuscript, to our people. She leads you into the square, and the other elders stand as you approach, bowing their heads slightly in respect. You feel their eyes on you, curious and hopeful, and you suddenly realize that they're not just looking at you, they're looking at the future of their tribe. The oldest elder, a man so frail he can barely stand, even with the help of a walking stick, steps forward. His face is so wrinkled it's hard to tell where his eyes are, but he turns toward you, as if he can see you perfectly. Welcome, Clara Bennett, he says, his voice so thin it's almost a whisper. We've known your name for a long time. Your great-grandmother, Nia, was one of us. She was the daughter of the shaman who created the manuscript. When the Germans came, she fled to Dar es Salaam, taking half of the shaman's tablet with her, to keep it safe. She passed it down to her daughter, then to your mother, and now it's yours. That's why the manuscript chose you. You have our blood in your veins. You're one of us. Your mouth falls open. You'd known your great-grandmother was from Tanzania, but your mother had always said she was a simple farmer's daughter, nothing more. She'd never mentioned a shaman, or a manuscript, or a tribe called the Gambit. My mother never told me, you say, your voice shaking. She never said anything about this. The elder smiles, a faint, sad smile. She didn't know. Nia never told her. She was afraid the Germans would come for her family, if they knew she was Gambit. She wanted her daughter to have a normal life, free from the pain of our past. But she left clues, didn't she? A tablet, with patterns carved into it. You've seen it, haven't you? You nod, thinking of the small wooden tablet in your mother's jewelry box, the one you'd played with as a child, the one with the spiral pattern that matched the manuscript. I thought it was just a decoration, you say. I had no idea it was important. It's more than important, the priestess says. It's proof of your lineage. It's why the manuscript called to you, it recognized your blood. She gestures to a stool next to the stone platform. Sit. We have much to tell you. The night is young, and there's a lot you need to know before the ceremony begins. You sit down on the stool, and one of the elders brings you a cup of warm tea, spiced with cinnamon and honey. It's sweet and comforting, and you drink it quickly, the warmth spreading through your body. The priestess sits next to you, the wrapped manuscript in her lap, and begins to talk. She tells you about the Gambit tribe, a small community that had lived in the valley for centuries, farming cassava and herding cattle, their lives centered around their traditions and their shaman. She tells you about the arrival of the German colonizers in 1905, how they'd forced the tribe to stop farming their own crops and start growing cotton for export, how they'd taxed them heavily, how they'd burned villages that refused to comply. She tells you about the Maji rebellion, when the Gambit and other tribes had risen up against the Germans, fighting with spears and bows and arrows against guns and cannons. She tells you about the shaman, your great-great-grandfather, who'd seen the writing on the wall, who'd known the tribe would be massacred if they continued to fight. He'd gathered the elders and told them he had a plan to preserve their history, their memories, their voices, so they wouldn't be forgotten. He'd killed his own deer, skinned it, and carved the patterns into the hide with an obsidian knife, each line representing a memory, a birth, a death, a battle, a song. He'd mixed his own blood with pine soot to make the ink, binding his life force into the manuscript, so it would live and wait for the right interpreter. Then he'd split his ceremonial tablet in two, one half for the tribe, one half for his daughter Nia, so she could find her way back if she ever wanted to. He'd sent Nia away with a trusted friend, telling her to never return, to never tell anyone who she was. A week later, the Germans attacked the village, killing most of the tribe, including the shaman. The manuscript was hidden in a cave by the remaining elders, where it stayed for decades, until old Amos had become the keeper and had gone to the market to wait for the interpreter, the one with Nia's blood. The manuscript is more than a record, the priestess says, her voice soft. It's a living thing. It holds the memories of every Gambit who died in the rebellion, every woman who lost her child, every man who fought and died, every elder who whispered their last words into the patterns. It's our history, our soul. And you, Clara, are the only one who can set those memories free. Set them free, you ask, confused. What does that mean? The oldest elder speaks up, his voice stronger now, as if talking about the manuscript has given him energy. It means you must become the vessel. The manuscript's patterns will transfer to your skin, and with them, the memories. You will see what our ancestors saw, hear what they heard, feel what they felt. Then you must tell their story, to the world, to your people, to anyone who will listen. Because if the memories stay trapped in the manuscript forever, they will fade, and our tribe will be forgotten. If you refuse, if you choose to stay silent, the memories will consume you, just like they consumed the other interpreters. They need to be heard. They need to be remembered. You stare at him, horrified. You want me to have these memories? To feel their pain? I can't do that. I'm not strong enough. The priestess places her hand on yours. You are stronger than you think. You have Gambit blood in your veins, blood that survived fire and war and loss. And you won't be alone. We'll be with you during the ceremony, guiding you, protecting you. We'll help you process the memories, help you understand them. You won't be consumed. You'll be a bridge. She stands up, holding out her hand. The ceremony must begin at moonrise, which is in an hour. We need to prepare you. Come with me. You hesitate, looking at the elders, at their hopeful faces, at the manuscript wrapped in red cloth. Part of you wants to run, to call Juma and beg him to come back, to escape this fate. But another part, the part that's been drawn to African history since you were a child, the part that cried when you first read about the Maji rebellion, the part that feels a strange connection to the Gambit people, wants to stay. Wants to help. Wants to honor your great-grandmother's legacy. You take the priestess's hand and stand up. What do I need to do, you ask. The priestess leads you to a small hut on the edge of the square, larger than the others, with a thatched roof and walls painted with intricate patterns, scenes of the tribe farming, dancing, celebrating. Inside, the hut is lit by several oil lamps, casting warm light onto the walls. There's a low bed made of straw and animal skins in one corner, a wooden table in the center, and shelves lined with clay pots and bundles of herbs. The priestess sets the wrapped manuscript on the table, then turns to you. First, you must change into traditional clothes, she says, handing you a simple white cotton robe. The manuscript recognizes our traditions, and it will be easier for the patterns to transfer if you're wearing what our people wear. Then, we'll wash your hands and face with holy water, to purify you. Finally, you'll drink a herbal broth. It will help you relax, help you accept the memories without being overwhelmed. It's made from chamomile and other local herbs, nothing harmful. You take the robe and change into it, feeling self-conscious at first, but the cotton is soft and cool against your skin, and somehow, it makes you feel closer to the Gambit people. The priestess brings a bowl of water and a cloth, and washes your hands and face, muttering a prayer in the Gambit language. The water is cool and refreshing, and when she's done, you feel lighter, as if a weight has been lifted from your shoulders. Then she brings you a bowl of the herbal broth, warm, slightly bitter, with a hint of mint. You drink it quickly, and within a few minutes, you feel a sense of calm wash over you, your heartbeat slowing, your mind clearing. The priestess wraps a red cloth around your head, like hers, then takes your hand and leads you back to the square. The moon has risen now, a full moon, casting silver light over the village. The square is empty except for the 7 elders, who are standing around the stone platform, holding hands and chanting. The manuscript is lying on the platform, unwrapped, its patterns glowing brightly in the moonlight, as if they're made of silver. Step onto the platform, the priestess says, her voice low. You do as she says, your bare feet touching the cold stone. The elders stop chanting and form a circle around the platform, their hands raised to the moon. The priestess stands in front of you, holding a small clay bowl. The ceremony is simple, she says. I will anoint your forehead with the oil of the baobab tree, which symbolizes life and rebirth. Then you will place your hands on the manuscript, and you will say the words, Ku na haru, do not forget. The patterns will then transfer to your skin, and the memories will come. You may feel scared, you may feel pain, but you must not pull away. You must let the memories in. We will be here, chanting, to guide you. She dips her finger into the bowl and anoints your forehead with the oil. It's warm and has an earthy scent, like wet dirt and leaves. You close your eyes, taking a deep breath, then open them and look down at the manuscript. Its patterns are glowing so brightly now that they cast shadows on the platform, and you can see them moving, swirling and twisting like a river. You place your hands on the deerskin, and the cold immediately seeps into your palms, spreading up your arms. Ku na haru, you say, your voice steady, surprising yourself. The moment the words leave your mouth, the manuscript's light explodes, blinding you. You hear the elders chanting rise, loud and powerful, and feel the patterns begin to move beneath your hands, no longer just on the deerskin, but climbing up your fingers, your wrists, your arms, like tiny black snakes. You scream, but no sound comes out. The world goes black. When you open your eyes again, you're not on the stone platform anymore. You're standing in a field of tall grass, the sun beating down on your. You think this is just a piece of deerskin, the crimson-scarfed woman says, handing you a bowl of steaming herbal broth. The bitter scent of medicinal herbs stings your nose. But every Gambit tribesman knows, it is not a record. It is a gateway. A gateway. You take the bowl, the warmth seeping into your fingers and chasing away some of the chill. To where? To the fires of 1905, another elder speaks up, tracing patterns in the dirt with his finger. This place wasn't called Gambit Village then. Our ancestors grew cassava and herded cattle here. Then the white men came, with guns that spit fire. They made us abandon our hoes to grow cotton, refused to pay their taxes, and they burned our homes. Your heart lurches. 1905, the Maji rebellion in German East Africa. Your advisor had taught you about it. The German colonial government's scorched earth policy killed 300,000 Tanzanians, erasing entire tribes from history. Could the Gambit be one of them? Our shaman carved our people's memories into this deerskin, using his own blood as ink. The oldest elder opens his eyes at last. His irises are clouded, but they seem to see straight into your soul. The interpreter does not translate words. They become a vessel for memory. The 17 before you, some were driven mad by the pain. Others chose silence, and the patterns consumed them. You step back instinctively, sloshing broth over the bowl's edge. I can't do this. I don't have that power. You think of the strange syllables, the flowing patterns. Panic coils around your heart. You came here to research, not to bear the weight of a tribe's history. It is not power. It is blood. The crimson-scarfed woman presses a dried herb into your palm. Your great-grandmother was a Gambit tribeswoman who escaped the fires. She took half a wooden tablet carved with these symbols, the token of the interpreter. You freeze. You'd seen that tablet as a child, tucked away in your mother's jewelry box. You'd always thought the patterns were just decoration. But now you realize, your fate has been tied to this manuscript since the day you were born. You drain the herbal broth in one gulp. Bitterness explodes on your tongue, sliding down your throat. Dizziness soon follows. The elders begin to chant, their voices low and unified, like ancient thunder rumbling through the hut. Patterns are bone, ink is blood. Ancestors are not in heaven, they live in the skin. The lamp flames dim suddenly, and the deerskin on the altar begins to glow faintly. Your eyelids grow heavy, your body feeling as if it's floating in water. The chanting fades, replaced by the growing murmur of voices, the same syllables you heard in the car. Ku, Na, Haru. This time, they're denser, clearer, as if dozens of people are speaking in your ear. When darkness finally engulfs you, you swear you hear the sound of skin splitting. When you open your eyes again, you're standing on damp black soil. The air smells of rain and blood. Thatched huts burn in the distance, flames licking their roofs with crackling hunger. Soldiers in gray uniforms hold smoking rifles. A woman kneels on the ground, clutching a child to her chest. Blood soaks through her cloth skirt, and on her cheek, you see the same spiral symbol that's etched into your palm. Run. Take the manuscript and run. A man roars, charging forward. Bayonets protrude from his body, but he clings to a soldier's leg. Let our descendants remember, we are not slaves. You try to rush to their aid, but your body won't move. More images flood your mind like a tidal wave, a shaman carving the deerskin in a cave, his fingers sliced open to bleed ink into the grooves with each stroke, a boy hiding the manuscript in a hollow tree, colonial soldiers chasing close behind, an elderly woman pressing half a wooden tablet into a young girl's hand. The girl's features mirror your mother's exactly. See us, a voice whispers, so close it feels like breath on your ear. You turn. Blurred figures stand around you, their faces indistinct, but their skin covered in patterns identical to the manuscripts. Tell our story, more voices join in, men's roars, women's sobs, children's cries. The figures raise their hands as one, pointing to your chest. You look down in terror. The patterns from the deerskin are crawling off the hide like black earthworms, snaking up your fingers, your wrists, your arms, until they settle over your chest. There's no pain, only a cold tingle, like hundreds of needles injecting something into your skin. You see one final image, the famine of 1907. The land cracked and parched, bodies lying everywhere. An old man in animal skins clutches the deerskin, collapsing beneath a baobab tree. His eyes remain wide open, staring at the sky. Do not let us be forgotten. The words hit you like a hammer blow. You scream, and your consciousness snaps back. You're lying on a bed of dried grass. Night has fallen outside the hut, and moonlight filters through the thatch, casting dappled shadows on the dirt floor. The elders stand around you, their faces a mix of hope and concern. You lift your wrist automatically, and your breath catches. Black lines are etched into your skin like tattoos, exact copies of the manuscript's patterns, glowing faintly in the moonlight. They have accepted you, the oldest elder says, a note of relief in his voice. These patterns will pass the ancestors' memories to you, until you have told every last one of their stories. You touch your chest, where the patterns are densest, like a small black forest. The memory fragments are now crystal clear in your mind, the heat of the colonizers' burning huts, the shaman's pain as he carved, the way your mother held the wooden tablet as a child. These are not your memories, yet they feel more real than your own. What if I stay silent, you ask, your voice hoarse. The crimson-scarfed woman points to a pile of bones in the corner. That was the last interpreter. He chose silence. The patterns burrowed into his bones, draining his life away. Deep into the night, you sit alone by a campfire outside the hut, the deerskin spread across your knees. The flames dance, casting light on the patterns, no longer flowing, but seeming to breathe. You pull your notebook and pen from your backpack. This is not for academic research. This is for the souls who died in the flames. You remember the syllables, ku na haru, and now their meaning blooms clearly in your mind. Do not forget. You begin to write, starting with that fateful morning in 1905, the arrival of the colonizers, the blood spilled in the cotton fields, the rebels' roars, the agony of the famine. The memories pour from your pen like spring water. You write the names of the storytellers, their faces, the exact words they spoke. The patterns on your wrist grow warm, as if encouraging you. You recall your advisor's words. The true purpose of fieldwork is not to record cold text, but to give voice to the forgotten. This is why you're here, not by chance, but by destiny. As dawn approaches, the crimson-scarfed woman brings you a roasted cassava. Rest a while. The memories won't disappear. She nods at your chest. The more you tell, the fainter these patterns will grow. When every memory is recorded, they will vanish, no longer binding you. Why tell me this? You take a bite of the cassava, its warmth chasing away your fatigue. The ancestors left their memories to be remembered, not to imprison their descendants. She sits beside you, gazing at the distant mountains. When the shaman carved these patterns, he said the interpreter is not a prisoner of memory, but a bridge between past and present. You look down at your notebook, 3 pages filled. The deerskin lies beside you, noticeably lighter, as if shed of a great burden. The patterns on your wrist have faded slightly, no longer as jet black as before. Did my great-grandmother live well after escaping? You ask suddenly. The woman smiles, pulling a yellowed photograph from her pocket. A woman in a European-style dress stares back, a string of shell bracelets, carved with the familiar symbols, adorning her wrist. She opened a small shop in Dar es Salaam. She taught the children to speak the Gambit language, until the day she died. Tears prick your eyes as you look at the photograph. Your family has been preserving this history in their own way, all along. You grip your pen tightly, bending to write another name, Jinjikatil, one of the leaders of the Maji rebellion. His story deserves to be known by the world. The campfire dies down, and the sky lightens to pale gray. You stand, and the patterns on your chest grow warm, like the gaze of countless eyes upon you. You know this is only the beginning. Next, you'll go to the archives in Dar es Salaam, digging for more records of the Gambit tribe. You'll turn these stories into a book, so the world learns of the 1905 fires and the unyielding souls who fought in them. You'll return to your London classroom, teaching this forgotten history to your peers. You pick up the deerskin, it feels as light as a feather now. The sun rises in the east, its light falling on the patterns on your chest. The black lines glow softly, like spirits reborn. A rooster crows in the distance. A new day begins. You clutch your notebook and the deerskin, stepping onto the path down the mountain. Behind you lies the hope of the Gambit tribe, ahead, the echo the ancestors have waited a century to hear. The wind blows past, carrying the scent of the savannah. You swear you hear the whispers again, no longer cries of pain, but soft, grateful blessings. You know that as long as you keep writing, the souls who died in the flames will never be forgotten.